I know you, I can feel you with the green of soul. It's more than empty dreams and promises. It's not infecting me no more. When all I say to you is getting gone, you won't be feeling me no more. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. When all those dreams are all our memories, there's not being alone at one. And thoughts of you just bring me down inside. I sing it with the green of souls. I know you, I can feel you with the green of souls. When you're not looking at me, I feel so slow. What? Get your hands up! It's more than empty dreams and promises.
All right, welcome to the listening room, you guys. My name is Eddie. I am your host. In fact, all right. Good to see you, my man.
See you, man.
All right, welcome to the listening room, you guys. My name is Eddie Booz. I am your host. And my guest today is a motorsports mechanic, rider, and enthusiast. Previously the head mechanic for the Goodyear blimp. He is now under the direction of a certain mouse that will remain unnamed and currently works on iconic rides we have all ridden as children and well into adulthood. A family man with amazing work ethic, my guest is always focused on his kids and those closest to him. He's a role model in the community, and I'm proud to welcome to the listening room one of my best friends, Mr. Ray Manel. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you, brother.
Great to see you, my man. Absolutely. So let's get right into it. I always like to start off my show like I like to start my day off, with a little bit of gratitude. So today I am so happy and grateful for the foliage, for the trees, for the greenery, for the brush. Every time I go outside and I'm out and I'm riding my board, I look around and it's one of the things I appreciate the most is I see the trees blowing in the wind, and that's just something that I've always appreciated, even as a kid. You know, you can actually trace this back to a song from Halftime. Actually, there was a song called Viagra, of all names, and it said, and the chorus said "Never down, never down." But what that was about was, when I was a kid, I always realized that we're always looking up as we're kids, you know. And I feel like we're seeing the trees, we're seeing the clouds, we're seeing these beautiful things, and we're seeing them every day because we're forced to look up to communicate with adults and those around us. And then as we get older, our vision goes from like looking up to like looking, straight, or even down if you're kind of tall, on a regular basis. And I think as people, we just forget to look up, sometimes, and just forget to be in touch with everything.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm happy and grateful for the trees. I'm happy and grateful for the for the grass and the for everything out there. So what are you happy and grateful for today, my man?
I thought about that all week, last week even, and like every day it changes. I mean, bicycles,
of course.
For one. I mean, it's a freedom. You're
love
behind
that.
it. You get to do whatever you want.
Love
I mean,
that one.
You've never seen a person with a sad face riding a bike.
I mean,
honestly, like,
well,
who rides a bike and is like crying and like unhappy. Like, this is horrible.
It's not often. It's not often, but it happens. But still, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I feel the same, dude. I feel the same about like my one wheel. You know, I feel the same about getting out and just riding and having fun. You know.
Yep.
So I mean, for me, that's a big, for me, that's a big deal. I totally enjoy that, and I totally appreciate where you're coming from with that gratitude. You know what I mean? It's a big thing, you know, to be able to get out on a bike and just take a nice ride, you know,
Well,
and
like
enjoy the day.
With your one wheel, it's like an extension of your body.
It totally.
I
is,
mean,
dude.
when it's there, it's nothing. But once you get on it, it's an extension of your body. Whatever you want it to do, it does. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I totally get it. And you're absolutely right about that, you know. And and that's one of the things I can definitely appreciate. And it kind of puts you in a flow state. It puts you in a Zen state. You're kind of just in the moment, you know. It's activities like that force you to kind of engage in and appreciate the moment, you know.
Definitely.
So I love that, man. I love that, dude. I tell, like I like to say on my show every day, it's imperative and it's important to be active in your own mental and emotional health. And I find one of the best ways to do that is acknowledging the things you're grateful for, you know, on a daily basis, just talking about them, saying them, writing them down, talking about them with other people, and just celebrating those things, you know, as much as possible. I find that that's one of the best ways to stay in that consciousness of gratitude. So for me, that's what I like I said, I find that to be one of the most important things. I find that to be one of the most effective ways for me to stay positive, for me to kind of keep a good head on my shoulders, you know, when things kind of become uncentered, and you know, and there becomes, you know, some elements in your life that you may not, you know, be, you know, stoked about at the moment. Being able to kind of appreciate and look at the things you're grateful for, I find kind of helps put things in perspective and helps kind of keep you in a consciousness of positivity and abundance. So I invite you all out there to do the same thing. Write down the things you're grateful for. Write them down. Say, put them in the comment section. You guys write them in a book. You know, talk about them. Same with your friends. So appreciate that gratitude, you guys. All right, Ray, let's go ahead and get into the song today. We're gonna be doing a song today called Angel. I wrote this song probably when I was about 20. I remember I was 20 years old, actually. I was living in an apartment in Huntington Beach, actually, with my ex Jenny and her sister Shannon and her girlfriend Casey. And I remember Casey was having a really hard time. Her grandmother was sick, and she lived in San Jose. And she ended up having to go out there, and it was not a great time for the family. And she ended up having to go out there, you know, while her grandmother was in the hospital and stuff. And she ended up passing while, on that trip and stuff. And while she was out there, I wrote this song, from all the things that I had, everything I had gathered from what Casey had told me. So this song is called Angel, you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this.
You know it's the best thing in your blink. People would give you more not than you would ever think. And no, it wouldn't be a surprise when you've always seen it in everybody's eyes. Our life was never damned. I always find a way to enjoy. Yet all as you walk that narrow road, life was always good. Never seen a day to give up. Yet all. And then God said, come on home. And God said, give me an angel. You're the only one on my mind. And God said, give me an angel, and I'll give you the wings to fly. You don't have to dry your eyes, 'cause she'll be with you every teardrop that you cry. And even life goes on in that hell, forever, never falling down. And to create, what is that? She didn't know the meaning of the word. And to give up, never that. Didn't matter, 'cause all she knew was life was never down. Always find a way to enjoy. Yeah. As you know, take coming home. Life was always good. Never seen the day to give up at all. And then God said, come on home. And God said, give me an angel. You're the only one on my mind. And God said, give me an angel. And I'll give you wings to fly. And God said, give me an angel. 'Cause you're the only one on my mind. And God said, give me an angel. And I'll give you wings to fly. And I'll give you wings to fly. And give you wings to fly.
All right, we're back. That was Angel. I wrote and recorded that. I wrote it when I was 20. I probably recorded it when I was about 22. So probably 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. Pretty sure that was when I recorded it. And I recorded that along with about 5 other tunes that I had written around the time I was about 18, 19, 20. And Gunplay originally was on that same EP, actually. And I'll show that at another time coming up here as well. But yeah, so let's get into it, Ray. Let me ask you a couple questions. So I'm really interested in this because when I was growing up in Southern California, the Goodyear blimp was a staple of my childhood. You know, you look up in the sky and you see the Goodyear blimp, you know, and when you saw it, especially like in the 80s, you know what I mean? Like in the 80s, you know, when my parents would see it, you know, it was like my mom would, oh, look, it's the Goodyear blimp, you know what I mean? It was a big deal, you know? So going from that to going to growing up and actually knowing and being friends with the head mechanic on the Goodyear blimp, like what was it like to work on one of the most iconic vehicles of all time?
I mean, there was a big transition between it. I mean, the older blimp wasn't rigid. The second blimp was rigid.
So what's the difference between the two?
One had a skeleton structure and one didn't.
Okay.
And then, I mean, it was.
So how does that work when it doesn't have a skeleton structure? Is it literally just a balloon filled with air?
It's like called catenary curtains, and it's basically like a woman's skirt that looks like it droops down, up and down like this on the top ridges, and it has cabling that comes down and actually holds on to the car. So it's pretty cool. I mean, it's
interesting.
The whole way that you think that it would work is kind of backwards, you know what I mean?
Interesting.
And one of the things that was amazing was now you're dealing with, you know, helium. Well, the expansion rate of what helium is and everything else like that. I mean, the scientific side to it, towards the engineering side to it, towards everything else was
that's crazy, dude. So you excuse me. So you worked on the rigid one, correct? Before the big one.
So I started.
Before the new one.
I started off on the non-rigid.
Gotcha.
Which was considered, you know, a blimp, and then the airship, which was the second one, didn't meet the classifications, but we still called it, you know what I mean, a blimp.
Right.
But you know, for me, like I started off as a mechanic, and as an aviation mechanic, and I switched over and became chief of ground support equipment, and then ran everything from everything when it's on the ground to, I mean anything and everything.
Interesting, dude. So for like somebody who doesn't know anything about like how a blimp works, really, how does it work? Do you fill the blimp up with helium and that makes it rise, and then how do you steer it? How does it drive? Like, how does this thing work? Like, how does this thing basically operate for somebody who's out there who's really doesn't know much about mechanics and they can understand this?
Basically, it has up and down, side to side, and then you got your speed, and that's it. The only thing that defers anything like that would be like the wind speed hitting you or the wind speed behind you pushing you.
Okay. And up and down is, so when you go down, are you like releasing helium from the
No,
blimp?
so you're driving yourself down, and then you're driving yourself up. Lift is a little bit different with it.
Interesting.
So
it's not just the helium that raises the balloon into the sky.
well, naturally it wants to.
It wants to. So it wants to go up. So it's got some help.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so what is the, so the airship is below is what you drive, correct?
Yeah, which would be the cabin.
The
or
cabin.
car.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the cabin. And then so how does that work? Is it just like a plane essentially, but with a big, balloon of helium on top of it to help it go up?
Well, the first one was more driven by cables. The second one was driven by basically fly-by-wire, all electrical. So
Interesting, dude. Interesting. That's it's so cool, man. It's so, I know you worked on on this for a number of years. You were put into different places and you had to travel a bunch of different places to a bunch of sports events and all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah, I traveled everywhere, even up to Canada.
Really? So what did you do? Like when you had to go to these big sporting events to be a part of these, the Goodyear Blimp team, what was it that you just kept the ship running and just kept it in good condition and kept it in the air?
Basically, we tracked the ship, made sure that everything was going. We had basically maybe 3 jobs underneath our belt. So the department you were in, then it was also going to be like, I guess you would say kind of like babysitting the ship. You know what I mean? It constantly flies. I mean, it's flying on a mast while it's going around in circles and stuff like that from the wind. And, and as we're traveling, we're also drivers. I had a Class A license with hazmat, doubles, triples, tanker license, So it's a jack of all trade, master of none.
Right. Okay. I gotcha. Okay. Very interesting. Marissa says, my great-grandfather made tires at Goodyear until he retired, so this is awesome to hear. Really cool. And then Jessica says, at night, do the blimps have lights surrounding it? She said when she was a kid, she thought she saw a UFO, and her parents told her it was a blimp.
Yeah, the ship doesn't have a light system on it. It does actually have, the newest one that they had was as good as a TV. I mean, it was amazing. You could watch a TV program on the side of it.
Marissa says, okay, really? Okay, that's pretty cool, dude. So Marissa asks, too, she says, can you see people from it? My kids swear you can.
Yeah, so at the height that they fly at, you could actually tell what kind of car it is. You could see people waving. You could see.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's not like we're super high where you're like a little ant. What I mean?
So they can see you. So yeah, when you wave to them, they're probably waving back. So tell your kids to wave on, to wave as much as possible at the Goodyear pilots. That's cool. So how many people does the blimp carry, and what is it mainly used for? Is it like, it's not obviously not used for transportation? Like, is it just a promotional tool for Goodyear?
I don't know what they want us to, I'm no longer with them. I don't know what
Sure.
they want to say, what they want to.
Yeah, right. I understand.
I'm just telling
how it was when you
usable
worked there.
knowledge, yeah.
Sure, I understand. Yeah, well, it's interesting, dude. So they obviously don't use it for any kind of transportation like cargo or anything like that. And when you transport the blimp, do you like take the blimp apart and like put it on a truck and drive it, or do you actually fly it?
You have to fly it everywhere it goes.
Really?
Once it's assembled, it's always.
All right. How fast does it go? What top speed?
I can't tell you.
Oh, really? Is it like classified info, or do you just kind of not sure?
I don't know if it's released or not.
You're not sure
what I mean?
what I was allowed to say.
Everything I'm saying is everything that's already released. So it's
Interesting.
not like I'm
Are
getting in
you?
trouble.
So do you? When you fly from here to like Ohio to do like one of those big things that you were doing, like how long would that take for the blimp to get there?
I think if they had to expedite and everything else, it would probably take 6 days.
Wow.
To a month, depending on like weather, depending on everything else.
What a trip, dude.
Yeah.
What a trip, dude.
It took us longer because we didn't try to stretch out how much fuel it would go and everything. So, but like I said, that's only like a guesstimate on my side,
Right.
So.
Did you ever meet any celebrities when you were working with Goodyear? Because I know a lot of celebrities like to come on the blimp and take pictures and fly around. And so, did you ever get to meet any cool celebrities?
I don't know if I could say or what. So
God,
I won't.
it's all you. It's all your experience.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just So, but yeah, I understand your apprehension. So, but it's all good. but no, that's cool, man. It's very fun, you know, to know someone who's got, you know, who's been around that, you know, who's worked on that personally, you know. And I know for a long time you told me, like, come on down, like, come down to the yard, I want to show it to you, you know. And I never came down, you know, I never got to see it. So I should have been the first thing on my list. As soon as you told me, I should have been out the door and on my way out there, you know. But it was awesome, dude. I really enjoyed that as a child, and then, you know, knowing that you worked on that for so long and stuff, and you know, it was really cool that it was something I admire about you, actually, is when you left Goodyear, it was because you wanted to spend more time with your family. Now, you have to take this into consideration. Like, he was the head mechanic on the Goodyear blimp, and you were working a whole lot for them. You were traveling a whole lot, and it was a very, very sought after job. Mm-hmm. This is not something that people give up very easily. But Ray had to weigh what was most important to him, you know, family, his kids, his son, you know, those people closest to him, and his happiness against, you know, maybe a wonderful career that maybe he wasn't, you know, as, you know what I'm saying, maybe he wasn't as excited about as you would have been if it were, you know, something that may have been kept you closer to your family. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate that in you, that you made a hard decision, Ray, and you did it for, you know, the betterment of yourself and your family. And now you have a great, you know, career elsewhere, and, you know, and it keeps you close to home and good hours, and, you know, you get to see your son a lot, and
yep.
That's awesome, man. So it's something I admire about you, because a lot of people don't have the strength to do that. A lot of people, you know, get in a job that pays well, and they think, you know, oh, well, I'm content, or I won't find another job like this, or, you know what I mean? But sometimes you just got to take a chance. Sometimes you got to remove the good in your life to make room for the great.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you don't even need to know where you're going. You just have to know that it's not this. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you don't take the chance, you're never going to ever find out. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Absolutely. So it's one thing I definitely admire about you, bud. So moving on to just mechanics in general, man. I have a question for you. Okay. So I like to work on my own cars. Okay. You know, I like to, you know, whenever I got to change, you know, I changed, you know, the fuel injectors in Ronnie's Miata, and, you know, I've changed out, you know, water pumps, and, you know, pretty much any external component on the engine I've replaced.
You did something on a door one time too, and you had me come over.
I've done some things. You've came over and helped me out with a bunch of these things. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoy it. You know, it's kind of like a puzzle to me. So and thanks to my stepdad for that, because when I was a kid, I did not enjoy it, and he made me change the oil in my car and change all the stuff that I needed changed, and you know, so it taught me to not only know how, but to actually be able to appreciate it as well.
Well, those little things too, you don't even realize that you're learning something.
Totally.
Okay, this goes for that works that. Then you start drawing a picture together.
Right.
Like a puzzle. You don't see what the picture is until the very end. So each piece that you're doing is basically a step in understanding that certain little idea of what it is.
Right. So speaking of that, speaking of learning, you know, my question to you is, do you have any message for any aspiring mechanics, anyone who's thinking about taking it up as a hobby? Do you have any, any kind of, a little advice or some words for anyone who's thinking about taking up, auto mechanics, as a hobby?
If you want to do it and you have passion in it, I mean, that's already drive and determination. You're going to fail. It happens. It happens all the time. It's what you learn from it, you take away from it.
Totally.
And then try not to repeat it. I mean,
there you go.
The hardest part is like learning your lesson. Sometimes it takes you twice. Sometimes you have to learn the hard way. Maybe it costs you more than what you could have paid a person to do it. But the pride in everything that you put into it and the attention to detail that you put into it, will someone else care about your car as they're building it the same way, or will you? You will take in like the extra little efforts. A little nick here or something like that's going to drive you nuts, you know what I mean? But the pride in actually knowing what got done to it, you don't second guess that. You don't question it at all. It actually gives you ease of mind. I mean,
absolutely.
Push yourself.
Absolutely. I love that, dude. Words of wisdom from a phenomenal mechanic, you guys, who not only works on and builds his own cars, but actually also works on heavy equipment as well. For a long time, you were out working on all kinds of different heavy equipment, such as
all the Tonka trucks that you had as a kid. all the different ones they had, I worked on the real ones.
That's dope.
And then after that, I worked on cranes.
That's super cool, dude.
So,
See, man, that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's a little boy's dream right there. You know what I'm saying?
yep.
That's cool, dude. So, okay, so now I'm going to ask you for if you have any advice for anyone who might be considering working on their own car. You know what I'm saying? Who just not necessarily, wants to do it as a hobby. This is just somebody who's like, you know what? I maybe be intimidated a little bit by the potentially getting my hands dirty and getting in my own car, and trying to fix something. What would your advice be for somebody like that who's leaning towards taking a shot at it and would like to start working on their own car or being able to, be savvy with that? Would you have any advice for anybody like that?
A lot of people now are using a lot of the YouTube to try to figure out what they're doing. But
Big
at
time.
the same time, watch the whole video through, because half of them, like at the very end, they're like, oh, we figured out an easier way of doing it. But they don't put the easier way up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So kind of figure out, draw a couple different other like ideas that you can. But at the same time, use your own mind and say, is this right? Does it seem like it should be? I mean, kind of educate yourself a little bit more.
Absolutely. So be observant of what you're doing. And yeah, I could definitely attest to YouTube University, man. Like, I mean, there's been multiple times where I've gone online and looked up, how to change specific things or how to do this or how to do that, and my door lock's not working. How do I fix this? Oh, you got to do this and just, you know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden it's working again. It's because you were able to just look it up and find it on YouTube.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so don't be afraid. I would say as somebody who's not necessarily a mechanic, I would say don't be afraid to just jump in there and give it a shot. Look on YouTube. If you can diagnose the problem fairly easily, then you can look on YouTube of how to fix the problem. Or if you got a major symptom, YouTube the symptom,
Yep.
and usually something comes up. You do what you can to give it a shot. And something my stepdad always taught me was that when you don't have a diagnostic gun, when you can't use a diagnostic gun on a car, sometimes you just have to fix the most inexpensive thing first, and then move your way up the list
Yep.
to what else it could be. You know what I mean? And hopefully it's the cheapest thing, you
Yep.
know what I mean? But go, get at it, go to it, and give it a shot. I would say, be attentive and aware, like Ray said, of what you're doing. That way you can make sure everything goes back in the right spot. And
Well, I mean, with the engines, it's just a triangle, dude. I mean, it's so simple. Ignition, which is your fire, your spark to it, or whatever it is. You have your fuel system, and you have your air. That's it. 3 things. So what are you not getting?
so
Put
right,
a little gas in it. Does it start now? Take the air filter off. Does it start now? Start rolling out things. I mean, small
Right.
things, and then narrow it down.
smart man.
Yeah.
Again, words of wisdom from Mr. Ray Manell, awesome mechanic. I love it, brother. I love it, dude. That's cool. So look, you're in kind of right now. You're not so active recently, but you're in a truck club.
Yeah.
So what's it like? What is that like? What is the, because I've always wondered this myself. This is a question that actually is for me, because you're always like, before you've been like, oh yeah, I'm going to a truck club meeting, or I'm doing this. And I'm like, what the fuck is a truck club? What do you do? What do you guys do? You know what I mean? Like, are you guys a gang? I mean, is it like Hell's Angels? I'm just kidding.
It's a specific year of trucks, basically what it is,
Okay.
and a certain basically model. You know what I mean? But it's cool because like I'm the youngest member, and they're always
Okay.
like, "We got our youngest member here." I'm not that young.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? But some of these like guys are retired, and they're
Yeah.
like big kids. I mean,
Right.
they got the money, they got the toys, they do cool stuff,
And
you
they're
know what
just
I mean?
building awesome cars.
And you're looking
doing-
at them, and you're like, man, like
You're having fun.
body's doing pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are like weaving through stuff to work on everything. They work on all their own stuff. I mean, they have a shop that has one of the guys in the group has a lineman shop. So every year we do a badging on every car, and we put it up on the lift.
So what's a badging?
So badging means that it's certified to go on the road, and it's certified to actually have our placard on it,
Okay.
and it's safe.
All
So
right.
we do, it's a huge sheet that it goes through, and we go through suspension, shocks, bushings, everything. We lift that sucker in the air. There's nothing you're going to hide from us.
Dude.
I mean, and it goes down to something even simple, like you don't see people with it, but fire extinguishers in a car. You know what I mean?
Super interesting, dude. What a trip, dude. So you guys get together and work on trucks together? I mean, what's the point of a truck club?
So they were doing that for a while.
Really? You get
A
together and
couple of
actually like wrench together?
A couple of them actually get together, and
No
there's
kidding.
a couple people in the group that don't know how to do it, but are willing
Oh.
to. You know what I mean? So they need the extra hands. They need the extra. I mean, there's certain things that you can't do by yourself. You need another hand, and you can't be like, "Honey, come here. Can you help me lift this
Right.
transmission?" you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Sure.
Like, here, you lift the light end. There's no light end.
Yeah. There's no light in there. Yeah. You lift the light end of the
So-
transmission.
But I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's a brotherhood in a way.
Cool, man.
You know. I haven't talked with them for a while. I haven't went to the meetings for a while. I need to. you
Cool.
know.
So where would someone start again if they wanted to get involved with a truck club? If they were looking to do something like that, and again they maybe feel like intimidated. Let's say they're getting their first truck or they're building their first truck and they're looking to get involved with something like that. Where would somebody like that look, to start that journey?
Narrow down the spectrum of like where you live, then narrow it down to what you want, and then just reach out. I mean, half the people that do this, we love talking cars. I mean, we could talk it all day long.
So just like go on Facebook and
And
just
then-
reach out and just start, just ask questions.
Yeah, and then show up to the meets.
show
I
up
mean,
to some meetings.
Show up to the outings that we have and stuff like that. Every car group's going to be the same.
And everybody's
if
pretty
you show
chill.
up and you actually show an interest and you're actually doing something about it, it's different if you act like you do something. You know what I mean? But to actually physically show them that that's what you want to do, they're going to help you out. They'll help you out, try to figure out like what you're looking for. They'll throw ideas your way. Some of them are very techno savvy with like the internet, so
Yeah.
like they can find stuff in different states. I mean, anything.
Interesting.
And then different parts. I mean, there's remanufactured parts, but a lot of them right now that you have to massage them a little bit to make them fit just right.
Right.
So
Interesting, man. Super interesting, dude. All right, so moving forward, I want to show a little bit of your work today. I would like to show some of your stuff. So let's go ahead over and let me take a quick look here. All right. We're going to go ahead and take a look at some of these pictures here, and you tell us what's going on in these pictures here. All right.
all right, that's where I started.
Right there, huh?
Start 'em young.
Gotcha.
My dad was always building in the backyard, so I wanted to build too.
Awesome.
He did his own stuff while I did mine.
Awesome. So that's you just doing your first project, huh?
Yep.
I love it. I love it. Okay, cool. Here we go. All right, so what are we looking at here?
So I have a 56 F100, and I ended up wanting to get rid of the solid axle on the front. And as you start cycling through, you'll see that I cut out everything, re-braced the frame even, and then did TCI Mustang 2 suspension on each side. You have to measure it out. You have to change the whole pocket of wheel with the wheel well. I mean, everything's just different. You have to
Interesting.
do a cross member in it to help support it. You're taking something that had like a 6-cylinder in it, and you're putting a V8 in it. Even though like I put a aluminum block in there that made it a little bit lighter.
Interesting.
Still, you got a lot of torque. You got a lot of everything else.
Okay, well, what's this?
So that's we're starting to cut everything out. We're about to roll the whole thing forward, and then if you keep moving on.
Okay.
So that's going to be the finished product on what each side would look like. So now it's not just a little
Gotcha.
axle that comes up. Now it's independent arms that come up and down.
Ah, okay.
And now it has disc brakes.
And how did you mount that? Did you weld that on, or is that bolted
Everything
on?
had to be welded on.
Everything's welded on.
And then everything bolts to that.
Sick.
If you look at the inside, that cross member coming across, you'll see that there's plating on the inside of the frame.
Okay.
Just a section that's about maybe 4 feet, 3.5 feet.
Okay.
So we boxed up the frame right there. And that's basically, trying to see. So that's it without the arms.
Gotcha.
Some-
Oh, gotcha. That's
Yeah.
it without the arms before you guys put the
Yeah.
new ones on. Gotcha.
And then that's basically the finished product right there. And the bolts in the very front of it on that center cross member is for a rack and pinion.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's the new height of it.
Oh, okay.
You could roll a baseball, it'll go under. You roll a softball, it won't.
Interesting. Okay.
And then when I lowered the back and finished up the back, I don't have pictures of that though, but I lowered the back, it lifted up the front a little bit like a teeter-totter.
Gotcha.
And, good clearance.
Awesome, dude. Super cool.
And that engine that you could barely see, I actually lifted it up so it had better profile. That's a Lexus LS 400.
You put a Lexus engine in that?
Yep.
That's super cool.
So
An LS 400, huh?
so where it's at right now, it's about 340 horsepower. I could go bigger if I wanted to.
Dude,
I don't want to go bigger. It's a truck. It's light in the
do
rear.
you drive that?
I'm not finished with it. I'm actually finishing it up right now.
Awesome, dude.
Cab, I mean, it's just a frame right now.
Right. Well, that's the one that's it's at your place when
Yeah.
we play darts and stuff. Awesome, dude.
And then that's my old race truck.
Your old race truck. I remember this one. Donnie Vosberg said, "What's up, Ray?"
What up, brother? How you doing?
Jessica says, "What an amazing childhood memory. So dope." Dude, awesome. I love that thing. All right, what is this? What is this
That's
bad
my pride
boy?
and joy, my 69 Z20 Camaro.
Sick.
Bought that when I was 13. I passed out flyers and about like towards the end of being 12, I bought a 68 Fastback Mustang. And I always wanted a Camaro, and that was like 68 Fastback Mustang.
Nice.
Was worth some, good dough. So I traded it for the Camaro, and then rebuilt it by the time I was 16.
That's dope, dude. That's seriously dope, bro. That's awesome. So, what do you prefer? What do you prefer working on? Do you prefer working on heavy equipment? Do you prefer working on aircraft? Do you prefer working on, roller coasters and rides? Like you're working on now.
Yeah.
What do you prefer? Like, what are you most happy doing? Like, what's your go-to?
I don't know if it's about happiness anymore. I mean, my washer breaks, I fix it.
Right.
I mean, everything in the house, electrical wise, I even fix it. I mean, it becomes like second nature.
Well, if you could choose for your job, what type of mechanics you were doing, what would it be? If you could choose,
That's
if it was any
freaking good question.
if it was any choice you had, would it be aeronautical mechanics? Would it be
See, a hobby and a job are two different things. You never cross them.
well?
Everybody says that. Yes,
you do
and
that.
no.
Though. You work in mechanics
Yeah.
and you're a mechanic for fun.
Yeah,
so-
but they're different. They're different fields.
Well, what
I
you
used
do
to work-
now,
I
what you
used-
do now, and what you do for fun are definitely different fields.
I used to work for a street rod shop, and I mean, it wasn't fun for me because people have you do things to their vehicles that you wouldn't want to do to your own.
And you're like, oh, that's
You're
a bad
like,
idea. You're right. Yeah.
I'm not signing my name onto this thing. It's
That's-
gonna look ugly. You know what I mean?
Comedy, dude.
But yeah, I guess working on cars is my go-to.
Cars. I was
Motorcycles.
gonna say I was gonna say cars and bikes. Oh yeah, you're a bike guy too, dude. So you ride motorcycles as well,
Yeah.
right? What? So you have a bike, right?
I have 3 Harleys. I have a 2001 Buell that I ride all the time. It's basically Harley didn't want to make it originally for themselves, so a third company made it, and they wanted to race the tracks with a Harley.
Interesting.
And everybody else is like, well, that's 500 pounds more, you know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it's 1,200 horsepower still, you know what I mean? So,
And you have a street bike too, right?
that is it. That's a Buell.
That's the Buell.
Yeah, and that's a Harley, and then I have a Panhead and an Ironhead.
Interesting. Nice, dude. That's awesome.
I got a
brother.
Shovelhead too, sorry.
That's crazy, dude. All right. Well, so why don't you tell everyone what you did and what we've been doing to kill time during this lockdown, to what we've been doing. So, what'd you do? What'd you go out and buy, Ray?
So right before this started, I went out to Fontucky and got a dartboard that was arcade style for $200, and I have it's already paid off itself
I know.
the first week. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, it's like it feels like you're out without being out. If it makes sense.
Yeah,
you know?
it's fun. I enjoy riding my board over to your spot, and and just playing some darts for a while and
Yep.
hanging out. You and Sam, and throwing darts and just relaxing. It's just a fantastic time, and so I've definitely appreciated your purchase. You know what I mean? Like, that's for sure, man. Awesome, dude. Marissa says, my daughter will be driving in 3 years. She needs something that's tough. What do you recommend?
Toyota.
Good recommendation.
Toyota all the way.
Dan,
Every Toyota I have had, 300,000 miles and sold it. Not that it died. Original engine, trans, everything.
Dan says the same thing. Dan's worked for BMW most of his life,
Yep.
and Dan swears by Toyota.
Yep.
Dan has driven that same Tundra now for at least 10 years, maybe
Yep.
15 years, and it runs like a champion. I mean, like a champion. My stepdad had a Tacoma for many, many years. I can definitely. My dad had a Tacoma, had a Toyota for a while. I can definitely attest to Toyotas being awesome, awesome cars and trucks. So, that's something that's super tough. That's awesome, Ray. Well, it's been wonderful having you today on the show, man. It's been a really great episode. You're my first non-artist. In the listening room, I like to showcase musicians, filmmakers, and artists of other kinds. And today, you're my first non-artist. I've had authors, comedians, and different, different art forms to showcase. But I've really enjoyed talking to you today about some of this stuff, Ray. Like, not only was Goodyear a big part of my childhood, but being able to just like talk about some, mechanical issues and give some advice to some people out there who may be, considering, doing some work on their own vehicles. It's been really nice. And it's been really nice being able to spend some time with a really good friend of mine and kind of giving these people, an insight into my life by seeing, some of my best friends. So I love it. I'm really glad to have you in the studio today, Ray. It's been phenomenal. Let's go ahead and check in with Miss Daisy real quick, see what she thinks of everything. Oh yeah, she's she's loving it like always. All right, you guys. Thanks again to my guest, Mr. Raymond L. Tomorrow night, Ukebox Heroes is going to be on the show with Mr. Crumb and James Key. They're going to be doing a live musical performance, so tune in tomorrow. And Friday night, I'm going to have Mr. Dan Grammer and Mr. Kevin Cablo, both from Long Beach Motor Devils, are going to be in the house, and we're going to see what we got for you musically that night. It's going to be a surprise. So come on back, you guys. And tomorrow night at 8 p.m., Pepperbox Lullaby will be in the house. I just realized that Bobby will not be here tomorrow. He's got some stuff, and he's got some family issues right now, and I'm praying for his grandfather, so I'd appreciate some prayers out there for his grandfather right now, Bobby K's grandpa. He could use them. You guys are amazing. Thanks again to my guests. Thank you all. Have a wonderful night. Love you all. Thanks for being a part of the listening room tonight. My name is Eddie Booze. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notifications, and give the video a like. We'll see you guys every Monday through Friday right here at 6:30. Take care.